Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the Baltimore County Police Accountability Board Session, meeting number 9, September 18, 2023. And we remind everyone that this meeting is being recorded. We want to begin with our roll call, starting with District 1.
T. Fitzpatrick for District 1.
District 2, yours truly. District 3.
Bishop Dennis is muted,
Bennett?
but he is present here.
I see that he is present. District 4.
Dick Chambers, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. District 5
Renee Strive.
and our District 6.
Scott Richmond, good morning.
Morning. District 7
Dawn Deshawn Fewer, District 7.
and our at-large members, Kara White
Sarah White, present.
and Ms. Rollingford, present.
Nigeria Rolling Forward present.
Thank you. Everyone having been accounted for, we want to go and continue following our agenda. If you have time to review the agenda, meeting notes rather, from June 26th, 2023 meeting. If everyone has had time to review them, we would ask for a motion to approve those meeting minutes.
Motion.
Motion to approve the business.
To adopt the minutes.
Second.
Is there a second? Moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Guess I'll abstain for the record since I wasn't here at the last meeting.
That's quite fine. Thank you so much. Okay. At this time, we are pleased to be able to, first, before we go ahead, administrative updates for the session at this time.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Henry Caligari, the Coordination Manager for Police Accountability Board. And it says new members here. There are 2 last-minute additions to the agenda underneath administrative updates, but I'll get into. First, I did want to welcome our newest member, Scott Richmond, representing District 6. And I also want to thank T. Fitzpatrick for being ready, willing, and able to serve another term on the PAB, and both members were confirmed by the County Council during their August session. So welcome to the board, both of you. Welcome back.
Welcome.
And 2 brief updates as well. One is that this morning, actually, a trial board was requested by one of the agencies that will require this board to nominate and fill the civilian position. So on the agenda, it says November 20th, 2023 is the next meeting. We'll actually need to do a meeting in October. If everybody is free on the 3rd Monday of October, that's the 16th, that would be the time that, we typically meet 3rd Monday of each month. So that would address that need. And that would be to officially, really for the sole purpose of A, adopting the minutes from this meeting, and B, to confirm or appoint rather, a member of the public as well as an alternate to the trial board that's been requested. And that really, actually, it was only really one additional matter. We will need to briefly go into closed session or new business, which is, I guess, the other matter on the table. And Madam Chair can get more into that once we get to the new business section. So unless there's a objection as to meeting on the 16th, I'll try to also reserve this room, but there will definitely be a WebEx link. I will work to reserve this room. This room is always in demand. It should be a very brief meeting, but it's in order to officially appoint a member of the board from the roster of previously confirmed trial board rosterees.
Thank you, Henry. And now we are pleased to present this afternoon for a presentation by our Chief Robert McCullough, Baltimore County Police Department. And we thank you, Chief, for making yourself available, and thank you for taking the time out to speak to our group. Floor is yours.
To the members of the PAB and the members of the press that are present here today, and members who are also joining us online. It's my honor and pleasure to address the PAB for the very first time as your chief of police. I mainly want to take today as an get to have an opportunity to get you guys to know me and to share some things about me so that you can understand my background and where I'm coming from and understand my commitment to your mission. Um, Once again, I'm Chief Robert McCullough. I've been a member of the Baltimore County Police Department now for 36 years. I served 35 years and 8 months and retired as a colonel back on January the 1st of 2021. I came back April the 18th of this year to be the chief of police. I spent a vast majority of my career, well, not a vast majority, but a large portion of my career, 8.5 years of my career working internal affairs. So I started out in internal affairs as a corporal. I actually headed up the officer involved shooting team for 10 years of my career. Initially, the shooting team started outside of internal affairs and it was incorporated into internal affairs, and that's why I ended up in internal affairs. I served as a sergeant in internal affairs also, and I also served for 5 years as the assistant commander of internal affairs. So I spent quite a bit of time investigating officer involved related incidents in terms of misconduct, criminal misconduct, and officer involved shootings and related matters. So, based upon my experience and in addition to that, throughout my career, I was a detective at every rank except for the rank of major. So I have an extensive background in investigations. I've always been committed to integrity in the organization. I've always stood for integrity, and I'd like to believe that my career and the fact that I was able to rise to the position of chief, and that integrity is first and foremost what I'm about. I understand how we got here, and I'll be candid with you. I've always felt that if law enforcement, specifically the unions, would have been a little bit more understanding, it may have never even come to this point. I think that law enforcement should have been listening to the public all along the way. And if we had been listening and we'd have been more inclusive and included the public into what we were doing, maybe LEOVR wouldn't have been done away with. Maybe it wouldn't have been a necessity for a PAB or an ACC. But this is where we are. And I'm committed to supporting the mission of the PAB and the ACC. And first and foremost, making sure that we uphold the public trust and accountability of our police agency in Baltimore County. And that's what I've been about my entire career. In terms of use of force, I'm committed to making sure that we're utilizing force only necessary when we're doing what we're doing in our mission every day. It's important that we give our officers all the tools in terms of less than lethal tools that they need to do their job. Of course, we have tasers, OC spray, and things of that alike. One of the additional things I've done since I've returned to the agency is that we've purchased pepper ball rifles. And we've had pepper ball rifles in our special response team and in our tactical team, but those places don't deploy that often. They're not a tool that's readily available to our people who work the street every day. So one of the things that I did is I added the pepper ball rifles to patrol. So we're in the process of purchasing pepper ball rifles for every precinct. And it's my hope that when we encounter those situations that may be gray, where we're somewhere between using less than lethal, but bordering having to use deadly force, that we've given our officers another tool that they can go into their trunks, pull out the pepper ball rifle, and utilize that. Hopefully that will resolve the situation. But it also gives us just another step in our use of force continuum as an agency. So use of force is very important to me in terms of training, making sure that that we're continuing to train in terms of use of force, that we're making sure that we're documenting that training, that we're doing everything right from the entry level all the way up until the most senior, most member of the agency, and especially in our specialized units like our K-9 unit and our tactical unit, where our officers are engaging in very high risk types of activities. So with my experience, with my background, on a daily basis, I'm able to monitor those things and know exactly what I'm looking at. I'm not depending on someone else to tell me what I'm looking at, because I have extensive experience and I understand the things that we do day to day, from just not only my investigative experience, but for my work experience. In terms of my philosophy centers around respect and dignity. You'll hear me say that all the time. Anyone that's known me my entire life will tell you it's about respect and dignity. It's about treating people with respect, treating them with dignity. But I also, as a leader of the law enforcement agency, I understand that respect and dignity starts at the top of the organization and starts inside the organization. Because as a leader of the Baltimore County Police Department, if I treat my people with respect and dignity, that's my message to them. And it's not something that's just said, but it's actually practiced every day. It becomes infectious. It becomes a part of the organization, becomes a part of the officers' attitudes. And they can go out into the community. So they know they're being treated fairly, they're being treated with respect. And they can also carry that respect with them every day as they go out and interact with our citizens. So that's my philosophy in terms of who I am and the message that I send to our officers. Of course, we continue to live by our organizational values of integrity, fairness, and service, making sure that integrity is first and foremost in our organization. The last thing that I want to happen under my watch is an incident or any type of thing that's of misconduct that may bring embarrassment upon the citizens of Baltimore County. So once again, I believe in prevention. I believe in proactive prevention, making sure that we're teaching our supervisors and our officers the right things, the right way to do things. It goes back to the basics, simply being where you're supposed to be, doing what you're supposed to be doing, when you're supposed to be doing. It's just as fundamental as that. And that is my message to them. And my message is even stronger to my supervisors. And they know that they're held to a higher standard. Most recently, just as recent as Thursday, we promoted a whole new core of leaders in the organization. And they know that they're going to be held to a higher standard. And one of the things that I told them was at the promotion is that the higher you go, the more responsibility you have to serve. Not to be served, but to serve. And that means serving the people inside the organization and serving the residents of our community. And that's my message once again to them all the time. It's what I believe. It's what I live. Talked about proactive prevention. Of course, we abide by 21st century policing in terms of our philosophy and everything that we do. I'm carefully making sure that all the tenets, the pillars, those 6 pillars of 21st century policing are being abided by across everything we're doing. That it's being included in everything we're doing. I have Meg Ferguson, who's my policy, my director of policy, and she tracks everything that we do, and she makes sure that we're incorporating those philosophies across the organization. Another thing that I'm trying to instill in the organization is the concept of conscientious outcomes. And you might ask, what does that mean? But it's simple as being thoughtful, being aware, looking at things through the, the different lenses, looking at things through the strategic lens, the cultural lens, the political lens, making sure that we're looking at everything the right way, making sure that we're getting input from our community partners when we do things, when we decide to do things, um, so that we can make sure assure as an agency um, that we're being inclusive, number one, but number two, that we're being mindful in our actions and everything that we do. So with that said, the only additional thing is recently we conducted ethics training. We had Dr. Chris Dreisbeck from Johns Hopkins University. We started doing exec core training, and we're also doing it for training for the rest of the organization in terms of ethics training. And we have a full slate of other things on hand that we'll be doing in the future. Some of which is that we'll be taking members of our agency to the African American Museum in DC and providing some cultural lessons so that we can understand where we've come from, where we are now, and where we're going in the future as an organization. With that said, I'd like to offer you guys time to ask me any questions that you may have.
First, thank you, Chief, for your openness, your candidness, and all the information you provided us, and that we know a little more about your philosophies and understandings and what you're putting forth and instilling as absolute necessities in Police Department of Baltimore County. We appreciate that. Does anyone from the board have any questions at all they'd like to pose to the chief at this time?
Chief, I had a question. The implementation of body worn cameras, are those implemented department-wide? And then what, as far as the footage, is it utilized at all in training and reviewing use of force incidents, supervisors, just generally any thoughts you have about how that
Yes.
sort of changed the role of
Well,
policing?
first of all, the body worn cameras are being implemented. We're getting close to being completely complete in terms of issuing body worn cameras. I don't want to give you an exact number, but it's a very small number of officers in our agency that do not have body worn cameras. We had a meeting as recent as last week. We had a committee meeting to discuss final steps and making sure that we implemented body worn cameras across the department in a very effective, efficient manner. There's always complications in terms of implementing the program because police work is dangerous, and quite a few of our officers work in plain clothes and undercover capacities. So you can only imagine that it can be a little dangerous. You're out doing surveillance and you're sitting in a car somewhere and you got a body worn camera sitting on your shoulder and you're trying to do surveillance. So, there's certain positions, it can be a little touch and go and sensitive in terms of them actually wearing those body worn cameras. But we're working in terms of developing our policy and our procedures and dealing with specific situations or specific exceptions. Those are all officers in our department will be issued body worn cameras. It's our goal to make sure that that is, and like I said, we're almost there. It's a very expensive venture. I don't want to give you a definite timeline, but it will be very soon in terms of when everyone has one. It's just a matter of purchasing the hardware and getting the rest of the hardware in, but it's a very small number. In terms of training, we constantly use the body worn camera. We even encourage our officers to review their own body worn cameras so that they can critique themselves and assist themselves in looking back at those situations. So I will tell you, as an officer who spent most of his career not having a body worn camera, that looking at the benefits of the body worn camera, I can look back and say that had I had that tool, it would have even been a better tool because it actually, while many people see it as a tool to hold the police accountable. It's also a tool that helps us to do our job much better. It helps to make us more effective. And it also produces evidence for us in terms of the video that we can utilize in terms of when we go to court and when we review our work. And like you said, in reviewing and improving our training.
To follow on that, are there any like units that don't have cameras yet, or is it there's officers that are still working on?
There's officers that work in like specific administrative
Right.
positions. A lot of our investigative units where people work undercover, they've been issued cameras. The real key is making sure that we develop effective policy, making sure that we're holding them accountable so that when they transition to a high risk situation, they might be doing surveillance and all of a sudden it becomes a high risk situation and they have to transition to putting their issued body armor and their vest. And what we're doing is attaching the cameras to those vests. So when they have to transition from doing surveillance to maybe doing something that's high risk or taking a suspect in custody, that they can put that vest on, those cameras on quickly and activate them and go into a situation safely.
I had an extra question. How is everything's going with recruitment and staffing?
I would say recruitment and staffing is going well. I would say that things have leveled off. I would say that according to our employment section, our applications and applicants, the numbers have been up each month. They've increased every month over the past 5 months since I've been back. We're doing everything that we can to hire quality people and also to make sure that we're getting them in quickly. One of the things we've done recently, we used to run 2 academy classes every year. We now run 4 academy classes. That helps us to get the people into training. It helps us to get hired faster, get them into training faster, and to get them out onto the street even faster.
Do lateral transfers have to go through the full academy, or they have an abridged academy?
They go through an abridged academy, abbreviated academy. It's lesser number of weeks right off the top of my head right now, but it's less than the requirements. That's in. We're looking at starting what we call an experienced officer class real soon.
Sorry, I'm the question guy.
I'm going to warn you that as long as you talk, I will talk. So we can be here all day.
My wife says nothing worse than an Irishman with an audience. But what's something about your job as police chief you do that would surprise us? That's part of your job.
That would surprise you.
Like,
I'm retired from the military also, and the thing that has always found interesting and moving in a leadership role is that I always describe it as I spend 80% of my time managing personalities. It really is leadership. Being the chief of police is much like coaching a team. And, my number one role to leadership is know your people. And once you know your people, you know their personalities, you know what makes them, what drives them, what motivates them, you know how to encourage them. And once you know them and you know those things about them, you can be more effective, more efficient, run the organization because it allows you to utilize your people in the best way. I would describe even having the opportunity to make promotions recently and being able to move commanders around, but basically put all the people in the right seats to make the organization run more efficiently, more effectively, and to fire on all cylinders. So I'm excited. I'm excited for the future. I'm excited about our leadership team, top to bottom. I'm excited about many of the young supervisors that we promoted. We promoted a lot of good people at the rank of corporal and sergeant, and they're going to be the future of the agency. They're going to be people. One of them, who knows? One of them. I was a cadet. there's a couple of them that are corporals and sergeants that were cadets. You know, give it a few years from now, one of them might be chief of police one day. That's my dream.
On that, so no. Thank you again for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you for taking time to hear and answer questions. And anytime you'd like to come and join us for a meeting, just give Henry a call and I'll make sure we set that.
I'm here for you. Once again, in the interest of accountability and transparency, our data, our internal affairs information is always available to you. I didn't come here today to bore you with numbers, but I have numbers if you need them. But, you know, next time I come back, if you want a presentation on where we are, what we're doing, just know this, when I came back to the agency, we had 15 open trial boards. And now we're down to 3. And I think Henry knows that even those 3, 2 of the 3 really shouldn't be trial boards. So we're doing pretty good. I thank each of you for what you do, for the time that you give Baltimore County, the time that you spend being partners with the Baltimore County Police Department. And like I said, I'm here for you. Don't hesitate to call. And I always want to be a resource for you, not a target. So just reach out to me. I'm always available. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Yeah, yeah, okay.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Thanks. We're gonna move right into old business. If someone has something, board member has something you want to bring up. Old business for discussion. If not, we'll continue with our number 6 item on the agenda, new business. And we're gonna have a report from the ACC. So happy to have a first
The
official report. Thank you.
Administrative Charging Committee met on June 26th, which was right after our last PAB meeting, July 21st, August 18th, and September 15th. In those meetings, we have heard a total of 3 complaints. Out of those 3 officers were not administratively charged. Out of those, 2 of the officers were exonerated, and 1 of the cases was neither unfounded or exonerated. And none of the complaints were use of force complaints. And our next meeting is on, I apologize, I had it ready and now it's not. October 13th, Friday, October 13th at 1:30 p.m.
Thank you, Dawn. Anyone have any board members have any questions for Dawn?
You said that was October 13th at 1 p.m.?
1:30.
1:30? Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Thank you so much, Dawn. Appreciate that. And we'll go to our item B, the annual report drafting. Henry, would you speak a little bit about that first?
Sure, just to give a little context on the annual report, one of the key duties of the Police Accountability Board, and it was done last year in 2022, is the issuance of the annual report, which details trends in policing and makes any recommendations to essentially public office holders in Baltimore County, as well as it can have a statewide message as well, depending on the topic or what the board wants to do. And that report last year was fairly brief because this board only met, I believe, twice prior to the the end of 2022. This year, obviously, the board has met on numerous occasions, and in particular, at this meeting and also at the next meeting, there will be a discussion on or a report from the Administrative Charging Committee that provides tangible data as to the handling of complaints. So I know that Madam Chair had sent out a email requesting folks to form or volunteer for a drafting committee. Now, in discussions with Madam Chair, part of the reason why we settled on that approach for a drafting committee is that everyone here has, again, quite busy jobs and lives and responsibilities outside of this group. And so the idea of having the full board meet multiple times in the lead up to December in order to draft a report is probably undoable. And the goal would be to have an initial rough draft completed for November's meeting, and then the board would be circulated, and then the board would have an opportunity in open session to discuss and to make any changes proposed to that. So by way of example, in the policy recommendation section of the report, if a member of the board wanted to recommend some policy, whether it be statutory or in any respect, involving public policy, wants that to be changed, that would be the opportunity for the board to vote on that. So you don't have to be a member of the drafting committee to be involved in the drafting of the report. It's really more about getting that initial draft ready for November. And then after the November meeting, when the changes have then been proposed, if any, that can be added to the report and then voted on in a final approval session in December. So essentially, the drafting committee's responsibility would be to help actually get that first draft taken care of, and then after the November meeting, draft the final draft for presentation at the December meeting, and then of course for circulation both in the public and also with policyholders in Baltimore County. I'm certainly here to help out with that process, particularly as it comes down to the basic technology side of it, and of helping with providing information to members of the committee as to things like the sort of the basics of the report, right? How often when the board met, hyperlinking in the report, the agendas online and the recordings online, so that somebody who views the report can get at the tip of their fingers all the information that this board has made publicly available throughout 2023. And so again, it's not going to be something where it's three folks meeting, no support. You're going to have my support throughout the process. But I know Madam Chair had sent out a request for volunteers. But if anybody's interested, and now would be a good time to ask any questions about that role, but also to get folks, if you're interested, to volunteer in the process.
I'm happy to help.
Thank you.
Not an eloquent writer though, so warning.
I am also happy to help.
Yeah, Kara.
Thanks, Kara.
I just had a question in terms of process. So if a member had a policy they wanted to suggest review or amendment, could we submit that to the drafting committee and say, like,
Sure.
this be considered? I mean, I feel like I could do better submitting something like that, whole cloth to the committee and say, here's like a section, you could adopt it, we can edit it.
Sure.
I don't know if I have-
I think that's a great question, Pete. And I think the idea would be that, yes, all members of this board are entitled to the same rights to suggest policy changes, and that those could be sent in via email. But again, the actual adoption of anything in the report would need to happen in open session, right? So that could be something that's sent and circulated to members informationally beforehand, but it wouldn't, no opinion would be physically, agreed to be in the report until and unless it's voted on in November's meeting. And then when the final report comes up for a vote in December.
Yeah, but yeah, I guess my question was about more like process. So like,
Sure.
wouldn't have to be on that to put something forth. See,
Correct.
Right, it would be circulated in advance, so members would have the opportunity to review it for a vote on it, but then it would also be made public through the open meeting.
Did we hear anyone else volunteer? I thought I heard,
So we have Karen.
I know we have Dawn and Kara. I thank you all. And you could always contact me later. Send me email, shoot me emails if you decided you want to also be a part. What we're going to do now, though, is if we can entertain a motion for those.
Motion to appoint the drafting committee.
Second.
Probably moved and seconded. Anybody have any questions on the motion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Be it so moved that the Baltimore County Police Accountability Board hereby appoints Dawn and Kara to serve on the drafting committee for the purposes of drafting the first draft of the annual report for review at the board's November 2023 meeting.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
We are now down to the events in the community, and we do want you to be sure that at any time you hear from perhaps one of your community associations or someone who is asking you to make a presentation or to appear at a meeting in the community, that you would let us know of your agreement to do that. So does anyone have any community activities or events on their schedules, or have you been asked to appear?
And again, that's just really so I can make sure you get all the up-to-date roster, up-to-date information when you present.
And also at any time that there is a particular community requesting you to make a presentation, if I'm available, I'd be more than happy to accompany you at the meeting.
So just very briefly, Madam Chair, we did mention there is need for closed session. I think for practicality, so folks don't have to go out, wait in the hall and come back. We do public comment now and then the closed session that was mentioned earlier after that. So it makes it a little bit easier for the members of the public who are in attendance to not have to wait, and they'll have an opportunity to share and speak now, if that's okay with you, Madam Chair.
That's fine.
Okay.
So we're going to open it up to our public comment session at this time. Yes.
Sorry, it was 1 second. My timer here just decided to go to 0. I apologize. I can also just do a timer on the computer. Ms. Farquhar, if that's okay with you, I can. Okay, rather than.
I'm Cindy Farquhar. Hi.
I see.
And the first thing that I wanted to ask was, would it be possible for you as part of your reporting to say how many, or do you already say how many attendees there are, not the panelists, but other people? Is that something that you already do?
We don't normally, but that's something we can certainly discuss, yes.
Okay, so I would love if we could discuss that. Thank you very much. The next thing is, how much transparency can there be in this group? I guess when I start that, I would just like to say, as your job is to send trends that need to change to the police department, I feel like the Baltimore County Coalition for Police Accountability, our job is to bring you trends that we wish would change here. So one of them is, can the ACC bring you cases and describe them? Is that a possibility? As we would very much want that. When you get to the drafting committee, and you bring it to the open meeting in November for review, can we get a copy of that? All kinds of transparency are what we would favor in your work. And the third thing is about recruiting, because this is a job that's hard to recruit for, recruiting people is promised. And in terms of that, I will say that we are disappointed with I, as part of the police accountability coalition, am disappointed in the makeup. I don't feel as if you are reflecting the people who get impacted by this overreaching corruption. I don't feel as if they're fair. So in terms of that suggestion, and that is that you're not like at least formally, but get yourselves into the school. And I have also suggested this to Councilman Pitoka. that you get yourself into the schools and tell the students about it and get the students to volunteer, and not necessarily for a paid job. Although I do think that that would be nice, we would feel like that was a possibility. But Governor Moore has started this volunteer internship thing, private people that would apply for 200 positions. So you could be creating more positions that people could apply for. And that way you get people who are actually youths into a board that mostly is going to deal with complaint from youths. And you just, not a lot of language that eyes are sending and going too many interactions with these two people. My family going to all my sisters. So that was what I wanted to continue with. And
Thank you, Cindy. Anyone else? I'm not seeing any other express interest at this time.
To go to closed session.
We will motion to go into our closed session at this time.
just for the sake of transparency.
Yes.
I can reason that.
Yeah.
Oh, yes. Thank you. for that. Yeah.
For that.
So, there is per section 3305B7 that we would have permission to go or reason to go into closed session to receive legal advice from our counsel, And
Regarding
the MPIA.
request, yeah.
Thank you.
And move into it in a second. Yes.
So make a motion to move into our closed session at this time. Someone
Motion to move to closed session for reasons of seeking advice from counsel.
Second.
properly moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
No opposition, then we will now move into our closed session.
All right, so we'll just give us 1 minute to do that. So that would be members of the public, we need to step outside in the hallway. We will let you know when the meeting resumes.
Thank you.
Here. Nope. Okay, so
Do you mind if I move up here?
yes, just give us 1 second, Bambi, while I.
Thanks, Bambi.
Okay, so
I'll send it. Thank you.
just have the motion to adjourn that really has. Do you want to unlock the meeting? It's unlocked. Three little dots at the bottom there.
As soon as I find my mouse, because it's all over the place.
No, next to the red X. And then click on the unlock button next to lock.
I cannot see.
There you go.
There we go.
Okay, great.
So we have adjourned our closed session. And do we have any public members? So
No, everyone has left.
So within this, as was mentioned earlier, that the next meeting would be before the November 20th, and we mentioned the Monday, October 16th date as our next meeting for the purpose of adopting
Recommend.
our recommended draft. And then for also the purpose of appointing a child board members, number 1 and 2.
So just to clarify, that would be for the next October one would be for this appointed members and again ratifying the minutes and then any other business that members choose to bring up at that time. One motion to.
Motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
It's a move that the Baltimore County Police Accountability Board hereby adjourns until October 16th, 2023 at 12 p.m., at which time it shall meet via WebEx.
And just to clarify, I'll see if I can reserve the space if people want to come in, but because we're just a month out, I don't want to promise that, but we'll assume we'll have extra now. But I'll keep everyone in the loop on that.
Excellent, Kirby.
Thanks, everybody. Thank you. Thanks for
There you go.
Inspiring. I forget.
Forget.
Oh, if you-
That was my vendor.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody, for coming in. Everyone's got your riders for the garage, right?
Yes.
Perfect. And Linda, if you want to sign right here.